Welcome back, Rock Raiders. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and today we're taking a look at an odd one. This is the Geological Center. Originally designed as a surveillance and communications hub for Rock Raiders HQ, the Geological Center was later refined to the role that we now see in-game, training geologists and scanning rock walls within a certain radius. We'll get to upgrading the building in a minute, but for now, let's look at the physical model itself. Uniquely, the Geological Center is the only structure within Rock Raiders HQ to utilize the roll cage and cockpit elements from the large vehicles, discounting any alternate builds that do the same. As such, the Geological Center has an unusual appearance when compared to the buildings that have come before. The roll cage isn't the only thing borrowed from the large vehicles, however. This hefty scanner situated atop the structure is lifted directly from the Chrome Crusher. I think this further shows the power behind that vehicle if it has scanning abilities parallel to the structure we're looking at today. The radar dish here is mounted on a 4x4 turntable, allowing for 360-degree coverage of the cavern. Below the dish are a pair of radio antennae likely used for sending and receiving communications with miners deep underground. Within the cockpit itself is a whole array of computer consoles and control panels to operate and gather data from. In the renders of this building, we can see these computer prints were supposed to be on dark gray 2x2 slope bricks, but this combination of color and print never came to be at retail. It's unclear why dark gray slope bricks are used here and not the standard dark turquoise ones we've seen everywhere else. There's even a texture file within the game that shows this dark gray border, reinforcing that this decision was somewhat intentional. One possibility arises when we look back at the physical model of the LMS Explorer bridge that the LEGO group constructed. In that model, several different computer consoles are used, but this design in particular could be the one we're looking for here. Perhaps a computer screen like this was originally used in the physical model, though that still wouldn't quite explain why neither the render nor the texture file contain the correct print. If you want to create a geological center that adheres closer to the brick color than the print design, it would look a little something like this. Regardless, we're going to use the dark turquoise Rock Raider computers in our build today because they are far easier to acquire and truer to the print aesthetics of the rest of the theme. Speaking of which, let's get to it. The Geological Center is a sturdy little build, utilizing a plethora of bricks to make up the bulk of it. As with many of the Rock Raiders buildings, the rear side of it admittedly does require some guesswork on our part, but the pieces we have chosen to use here fall within our list of priorities and remain consistent with the other models in the series. One thing you may have noticed is this odd overhang the model has, spilling beyond the boundaries of the 8x8 brick it's built upon. This is not a mistake. at least not on our part. Every render of the building has this overhang, though the reason as to why is up for speculation. Maybe it was intended for this build to originally slot into the raised baseplate of Rock Raiders HQ. Maybe it was intended for the building to be able to rear up like a horse. Either way, a pair of 2x4s or a single 2x8 in dark gray can help fill this gap should you wish to do so. Beyond that, the Geological Center is what it is. What you see here is what you get, though I must say my opinion of the structure has improved having built one for myself. However, we're not done here, not by a long shot. There are other versions of this model that are quite unique and noteworthy. First up is this iteration seen in concept art, depicting a geological center with 2 roll cages on either side. This build even appears in-game within this cutscene. The details are hard to pick out, but one interesting thing to note is that this current orientation would be impossible to construct with retail parts, but certain prototype pieces do allow for some more outside-the-box thinking. Efforts to reconstruct this thing currently involve a little too much guesswork to be valuable, but the trail doesn't run cold yet. Within the game itself exists another version of the Geological Center, an upgraded form, with notable similarities to the previous model. You can actually see it in-game when the building is destroyed. No mods, this is vanilla. This model, however, had just enough visible details present for us to take a stab at it. Behold! If you thought the original Geological Center was strange, then you'd best be sitting down for this. Containing all sorts of odd design decisions and an absolute plethora of bricks, this model is a beast, and I think it's worthy of some recognition. I've included some step-by-step instructions in the description for any who are curious, but I want to emphasize that we know our recreation is not accurate. We simply lack the proper sources to improve upon our attempt here. All told, I think the Geological Center stands as an ugly duckling in the Rock Raider structures lineup. The odd use of the large vehicle roll cage does create a noticeable amount of abnormality in its design, though that shouldn't necessarily be taken as a fault. Uniquity can be this building's strength, as it certainly does leave a lasting impression. So, where to next? Well, I think it's been long enough. Let's finally take a gander at those small vehicles. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've been your host, RR Slugger, and I'll see you next time for some more high adventure deep underground.